Welcome to our Women in Games International launch of our amazing new panel that we're kicking off today called Open World Dialogue, where we come in and we talk about all the amazing things that all the amazing people in the industry are doing and have really good conversations just about help create space for women and marginalized genders in the gaming industry. Today, I have with me some amazing folks here to talk about all the awesome things they are doing, and I'm not going to take up too much stage time. I'm just going to pass it off, and we're going to start with Jenn. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and some of the things that you love.
Thanks so much, other Jen with an M. So, yeah, thank you. It's really great to be here. I have been a lifelong gamer, and so for me, it's been a really tremendous journey to be able to merge a passion into what I do for work. So I've been in the video games industry, really with the publishers and various types of platforms, most recently with Twitch, as my day job. But one of the things that I ended up doing that I thought was just so needed, much like what you guys do at Women in Games International, was just to create a community of women in the video games and esports industry so that we can all gather and just talk shop without any concern. And shop can be the latest video game and what's happening in the industry all the way to where you can get a good haircut. So I think that was something that I just felt was really important. And so what started as something kind of small and just casual, it stayed super casual and informal, but we created Women in Gaming, WxG, and it's just focused on being able to originally service just New York, but it's turned, especially since COVID, it's turned into something that is able to bring women across the country. Whoever wants to be a part of it, they're in the industry, they're welcome.
That's amazing. I think COVID did a lot of that for a lot of us, where we ended up having, like, not just having to, but like kind of looked into more scaling the things that we were doing to create more space, right? Rebecca, why don't we go to you next? Tell us who you are and what you do and what you love.
Thank you. Again, thanks so much for having me as well. It's an honor to be here, and I'm really excited for this chat. My name is Rebecca Dixon, and I am one of the co-founders of The Gamers. And The Gamers is a media platform and social network for women who game. And you know, where we fit into this sort of space and conversation is, of course, everybody knows the statistics about women in gaming. So I don't need to review those, but I think there are so many different ways that, you know, different organizations and different people are sort of bringing light to the fact that maybe there's some improvements that could be made or some opportunities that could be created. So what we're trying to do at The Gamers is, number one, amplify anything we can. So we always love to partner with anybody and everybody and say, you know, what are you doing? How can we amplify it, create a bigger stage for it, for all the reasons, right? Because it's deserved, because maybe young girls can see in careers in the gaming industry and you know, look at people like everybody on this panel and say, oh, maybe I could do that one day, to create more opportunities for job creation, for conversations around it. And so I can talk, you know, more later about the specifics of all the things we're doing. I think the biggest thing that we do each year in terms of content is the Gamers Awards, which just launched last week. We're super excited about them, and just thanks. That's what we do. That's what I do, and I'm really excited to be here.
I am so excited that you're here and for the Gamers Awards, because I've been seeing all the posts, and it's just been really cool to see like all of the how everybody's kind of coming together to support it. It's really, really neat.
Yeah.
Megan, who are you and what do you do and what do you love?
Oh my gosh, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. For starters, I love women and working with women to in any capacity. Thanks, Jen. I love what you guys are doing over at WxG. And Jen, is it WxG?
It's Wiggy.
Wiggy.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Keep it
Thank
simple.
you, Wiggy.
Yeah.
And Jen, I definitely want to join you for a game night. I know you're coordinating those and I see them come through. And obviously, Rebecca, we met because you won our elevator pitch award, which was so exciting. So I'll introduce myself. I'm Megan Van Petten, and I am the managing director of the Esports Trade Association. Trade associations have been around for hundreds of years. And it's basically every industry in the world should or could or may have an association around it. So you can come together and do business with each other. And it's so simple. I myself, over the last decade, have specialized more in innovative sports related trade associations. So before this, I was with the Fantasy Sports Trade Association and now the Esports Trade Association. So I just love these emerging sports associations that have a lot of women. And, 10 years ago, there would be like maybe 10% women and we would just run to each other. And now it's just really evened out, and it's just an honor to be here to support and to be part of.
Thank you so much, Megan. It's so nice to have you here as well. So the big topic we wanted to talk about today was about creating space for women and marginalized genders in esports specifically. And one of the things I really love about Women in Games International is like Rebecca kind of touched on a little bit. We all kind of know what the problems are. There's really no need for us to rehash what the problems are. What we really want to focus on is bringing solution and into the space and the conversation. Like focusing on the problem doesn't do much for anybody. But how do we move forward? What can we create? What can we kind of like bring to the table that hasn't been brought to the table before? So Jenn, why don't I start with you? What are some things that either your organization is doing or you've seen that helps create space for women and marginalized gender in esports or in gaming?
Yeah, so I think the biggest focus, and it's something that I just keep banging my drum about, is just gathering us together, the power of numbers. So that, what happens oftentimes is, and everyone keeps mentioning this, it's, I'm the one or two women in said company, said league, said team, said whatever it is that is associated with gaming, whether it's esports or in the, gaming proper. And it's just, again, power of numbers speaks volumes to what we can do together. So it's not in a way of how to support each other, even if we might be in competitive types of businesses or competitive types of networks. It's like there's room for everyone. And if anything, it's just part of this whole bigger system of us not knowing each other. Like we want to be able to actually have exposure and to celebrate each other, which is why I love gamers, the Gamers Awards. I mean, it's amazing to be just so generous, because I think a lot of what we do or what we've learned is to not be generous. So to me, what I wanted WxG, Women in Gaming, to do is really find each other and have a place to find each other, and focused on the industry and people that are just, whether they're just starting out in their business all the way to being a co-founder or owner or at C-level. So it's been amazing to see everyone come together, see everyone realize that they have similar interests, and that all of a sudden what started as an industry event, we also have these game nights that just happen to happen because everyone loves to game, or at least a large percentage of us. So it kind of opened up a path for us to start to do things that we wouldn't have necessarily have thought of doing. So it's been a really fun evolution.
That's awesome. And you kind of touched a little bit on a key point there, that some of us game, right? Not every person that is in the gaming industry is a gamer. And I think that that's a key point that doesn't get talked about enough. You don't have to be the streamer, you don't have to be the content creator, you don't have to be that side of it. There's so many different things that we can do in the gaming industry, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I feel like that's one of the biggest barriers is it's the imposter syndrome. Oh, I don't know enough. I don't know enough because I don't actually play the games. And I have met so many dudes who have zero gaming experience, but they just, put on their outfit and all of a sudden they're immediately qualified. Immediately they're in the club. And I'm just like, wait, whoa. I've been like building my own, this is insane, right? And so you sit there and you're like, I'm more than qualified. I on both sides, like as a gamer and as a woman in the industry. And it's just an interesting moment of pause to be able to not only say, okay, you're a gamer, but to actually celebrate when you're not. And to still, some people can be even more educated and more experienced because they're not a gamer, because they don't take for granted this whole other part of the the culture, if you would. So
Right.
you're almost become an intellectualized gamer because you're really looking and understanding and studying the behavior and the experience.
Yeah, that's a really good point too, because you're seeing a lot of it from the outside, which is different than some of us, myself very much included, who grew up in the gamer culture. So I have a very, very different view than someone who's coming in it from the outside, trying to expand it in a different way. One and the Gamers Awards does a really, really good job, I think, in kind of uplifting all sorts of people in the industry. So Rebecca, why don't you tell us a little bit about what the Gamers is doing with the award show that creates that space?
Yeah, I would love to. And thank you for that compliment that, we are doing a lot. But what I also love is we've gotten so much amazing press and people are tagging women and it's awesome. But I also love that we always get suggestions for more. Like, have you guys considered this award? Have you thought about this? And it's once you start thinking about what are all the possible jobs in the gaming industry, the conversation you two were just having, it's so relevant. And so to just back up for a quick second about the Gamers before the Gamer Awards started, I have 3 co-founders, and while one of my co-founders now is a big gamer and has a show on our Twitch and she learns a new game every week, we're a good example of a team who's not endemic to the gaming industry. And what we found is that we own that. And what we are very experienced at, is community building, working with in an industry promoting women, and using an organization that has what we like to call a for-purpose model to really improve the situation for women. So prior to this, we were in a completely different industry, but we came into the gaming industry and said, listen, after doing lots of chatting and networking, and now I feel like we can't lead with we're not endemic to the gaming industry because we've been in it for a long time. But what we want to do is identify as many different careers as possible and as many different sort of pain points that we can help solve, and positive ways to do that. And so the Gamer Awards has been by far the most successful and significant example of that. And an interesting analogy to Megan, you brought up sports before, but when you think about sports, there are tons of jobs in the sports industry, and people never say to like the publicist for the New York Knicks, like, do you play basketball? Why would they say that? That makes maybe they do, but it's not relevant, right? And so the Gamer Awards, like I think I quickly mentioned earlier, they launched last Friday. There are a number of categories all across the industry, everything from teams to players, developers, cosplay, and beyond. And what is really, I think, special about them goes right back to what you were saying earlier, Jen, about banding together and finding each other, because they're community nominated and they are community voted. And so you can, identify whether it's women you work with or women personally who you think deserve the awards. And that's really how it should be, right? We are seeing just these incredible examples of nominations for women from other women who could even be considered competitors. But the thing is, on this topic, we're not competitors. Right. I mean, we are, not only are we, in an alliance together, we have to be, right? And if each person can kind of say, I don't do this, but I do this, and come together, that's great. And then there's one thing that we can all do, and that's support each other. So the Gamer Awards, they are open for nominations from now until August 26th. Then there is a short period where they're closed, and then they open back up for voting for the finalists, and then it's voting for the winners. And so there's an advisory period between the nominations and the voting, just to make sure everything kind of is organized, and we've got everything kind of straight on who's getting nominated for what award. And the advisory board is an awesome group of women from the industry, and we're just totally thrilled with the support that we've gotten. And by the way, if anybody is interested in still kind of getting involved in any way, whatever that means, there are lots of ways to do that. Just to say, we think we're aligned, and we think this is a great idea to honor and amplify women in gaming. So yeah, that's it.
Well, that's amazing too, because when we think about gaming, a lot of us do think about like, oh, you need to be a coder, you need to be a developer, you need to be this. But then we look at games like Assassin's Creed, and they need historians, they need they need people knowledgeable, the anthropologists perhaps. Like there's narrative designers, there's lots of things that go into creating a video game, regardless of where it is in the genre. So I think it's great that the Game Awards is not in just a way for community members to nominate other community members, but also in creating those categories, you're kind of showcasing that there are all these things, right? Like you said, that you can be a part of the gaming industry, and not all of them are wrapped around being a gamer. So yeah, that's great. Megan, tell us a little bit about what the ETA does in creating space for women and marginalized genders in the space.
Thank you. Sure, I would be happy to tell you. So it's pretty simple. We specialize in bringing businesses together through many events all year long. We have member-only coffees, we have webinars, we have workshops, we have coaching, we have business plan writing services, we have an elevator pitch that Rebecca was part of. We actually have a class that will teach you how to go through the pitch and pitch your best pitch to get funding. We have a variety of judges that are not there just to judge. They're coming there to buy companies. They're coming there to invest. They're coming there to partner, to merge. So like I said before, trade industries are as old as time. And, bringing together community of women and men in whatever industry. I like this industry, and I'll tell you something that's really funny. I have a couple of brothers that are chess champions, and people don't understand like esports. Like, why would people want to watch somebody? And I said, well, remember growing up, we would just watch people play chess, and the reason why we watched is because we liked watching mastery. We liked watching winning or being a good sportsman and losing, and the whole lesson, so just being part of this industry, that's what I like, is people coming together in large groups, virtually, and watching each other, being in community, playing with each other. But really, if you think about it, that is as old as time. So what are we doing? We're having an event in September 12th through 15th. We're starting at Wrigley Field. We're having a nostalgic experience at the rooftop, where it's 4 levels of being in the sun or being in the air conditioning, because you never know in Chicago, the weather. And then we're having a quick pitch contest the next day after the game. We're having people getting a little lesson in pitching, getting their video signature done, all of our members or non-members, and upgrading your professional photo, and having a happy hour. And then the next day, we actually kick off our event with women in esports. And we have our very own Joni Crott. We have a lot of great women panelists. We think we've done a really nice, diverse program. We're very excited to be presenting a Game Changer of the Year award. We're not an awards company, Rebecca. Just two awards.
You know what? That would be fine, though.
Yeah.
That would be fine. There's room for everybody, like Jenn said.
Is. And we're really sensitive that we really do want to respect our lane, which is business, bringing businesses together, and keep awards really simple. So once a year, we give the Game Changer of the Year award, and I can't wait to share who that's going to be presented to. And then somebody wins the elevator pitch, which is just such an honor. Most everyone that does pitch ends up getting funding or partnership in some sort of there's a process through the entire program. And then we end our last event will be over at the Wit Hotel. It's a famous rooftop here in Chicago, built and designed by Scott Greenberg, who also is managing the Surge project here in Chicago. If everybody's heard of it's one of the biggest things going on here. But anyways, everybody's invited. We think it's going to have a great turnout. We're, I think, 32 days away and counting. So, that's what's happening. It's our once a year big event. And like I said, we have an event a week all year long. Coffee, webinar, happy hour.
That's awesome. I think part of the things that we have to do as women in the space to begin with is to help create that culture, right? Help create like what it looks like to be a woman in the gaming industry, how we can uplift each other, making content or programs or workshops or events or spaces where we're allowed to do that, where we can do that freely and kind of be, like Jenn said, just like be who we are and showcase that there are others that are in the same space as us. So when it comes to esports specifically, I know that there's a lot of conversation. Sometimes we get confused about what esports is, what gaming is, and how they all fit together. What are some of the things about esports that really kind of motivate you to kind of keep this going? And Jenn, we'll start with you. Like, what are some things about esports that you really love that we probably should see more of?
Yeah, I really like the development around the collegiate esports and where we're going with that, because I really feel we're servicing the next generation of gaming professionals, because not everyone's going to become the next, the equivalent Mike Tyson. We're not going to. Not everyone's going to be ninja. Not everyone's going to. We all know this, and you come to that realization at some point. That's like, maybe I don't want to do this professionally. And then there's other parts of the industry that you may end up deciding that you're going to go into. Mm-hmm. So I feel like there's a lot, just a lot of work to be done at that level, and even the high school level, to be able to almost educate at an earlier age. Sportsmanship, because I think you mentioned, I feel like Jenn, you may have mentioned it, but really that's been a passion point for me, is that we understand sportsmanship in other parts of sports, right? And I think that's an area that would really, I think, help a lot as it filters across the entire industry and the entire just space and community, is understanding like what's cool and really being aware of what's cool and what's not cool and being really aware of that. I mean, I think there's a sense of freedom of the anonymity of playing that allows for a certain bad player, if you would, and I think we want to see less of that. And so that's been a passion point for me, is the earlier parts of esports industry and like kind of growing up a new generation.
Yeah, and that's so important too, because that's kind of where the bottlenecks seem to start first, is, a lot of times women and marginalized folks of all shades and genders end up taking ourselves out of the running before we even start, right? So what are some resources, and Rebecca, I'll go to you next. What are some resources that you've seen that have been really helpful when it comes to supporting other women or girls, or some things that you've run into in your journey as in this space?
It's still specifically around esports, or
I mean, whatever comes to mind. They're all kind of connected now, right?
yeah, I know, it is all connected. So I think, what's interesting about this topic exactly is, Jenn was talking about sportsmanship. It's so important. I find myself in a lot of conversations where the discussion is, should it start, does it need to start in college? And if it's, by the time you get to college, it's so hard because there are already, the women in college aren't getting the scholarships for the esports teams, for example, or they've already stopped gaming. And when did that start? Was it high school? Was it middle school? Was it before? So there's that piece of it. Like, do we need to get into the Girl Scouts and the camps and the what? I mean, the answer to that is, yeah, of course we do. And I think the other answer is, can the pro esports teams do anything? Can we do anything up here? The answer to that is yes. It's all of it. And so this is a little bit answering your first question more, but it's I can talk about resources too. I think what's great that we're seeing a little bit, and it would be great to see more of it too, is have at, throughout the industry at this sort of top level, whether that's the C-suite, the pro players, the discussions at that sort of most elite level, that's where I think the allies can be really impactful. So I think if you have the big streamers who are male, the guys, it's maybe a little harder in the corporate world, but it just finding ways to be supportive publicly from the top. I think when you're thinking about sort of systemically how to change it, then yeah, college is huge, has to be a huge initiative. And for, at the Gamers, for example, we realized super early on, if we're going to move the needle, like, or be a part of the movement of the so-called needle, that we have to focus on college, not only at all, but intentionally and with a lot of effort. And so the hard part about it is, what does that look like? And so then getting into your sort of, what are the resources? I think there are so many, and it sort of depends exactly what you're looking for resources for. So let's say you are a high school or a college student who's interested in getting into the esports and gaming industry. I actually think one great resource right off the bat is LinkedIn. I think there's just so much to be learned from LinkedIn, and I think that the industry's discussing this, this topic and this narrative and opportunities, and even the way to find out kind of what jobs there are. I think when you're thinking about if it's resources for figuring out how to sort of, there's so many different sort of topics, right? How to think about situations that haven't been great. And, we don't need to get into all the details of what those are, but there are a lot of resources throughout the industry. There are a lot of awesome nonprofits and things like that address, mental health things, mental health related topics in gaming, and, kind of how that can be talked about. And I think it literally goes back to the first thing you said, Jen, which I love, which is that if the women who are here band together in all the levels, right? So you're getting everyone together to talk about, yes, work and the industry and where we are, and then it becomes social, and that's great. We're at the Gamers, we're trying to sort of amplify everything that's going on so we can create a clearer view to pathways to careers in gamings, and everybody just celebrated. And then Megan, you're doing it from an industry perspective. The more that's done, the more all the resources in any single division of what someone's looking for will just be available. So
yeah, absolutely. Megan,
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Please. I was going to say, just to add, because I just love everything Rebecca's talking about. It just gets me thinking even more so. It's like, there's a part of me that I don't want to say that we need a level of affirmative action, which can be a little contentious, right? Like we think of that word and we're like, ooh, but think about the generations of women who weren't able to get into colleges because it was just a men's club, right? And so they were not fostered, encouraged, mentored, whatever, fill in the blank verb. They were not, it was just a lot harder to get in. When my mom talks about her trying to get into college, I'm like, what? I take it so for granted. Right. And then her mom, it's just an interesting thing that we're like, yeah, 50% of colleges are women. And so it's something where, obviously we're not going to be as formal as that, but it's almost like trying to, we don't want to normalize that it's just a bunch of dudes playing at a pro level. And I think that's another piece, is how do we start putting pressure so that it's not normal, it's not okay, it's weird, it's kind of odd, what's going on? And if that's the case, that they're not good enough, then let's mentor, let's get training grounds, let's find the women that have maybe dipped into multiplayer games and dipped out because, wow, that wasn't really fun, because they were just having so much of a not safe place to be able to actually explore and figure out that they could be really badass at Valorant, or really awesome at, said game, that kind of maybe them take a step back, or who knows, maybe it's League of Legends, or who knows. But I think that's something I feel really passionate about as well. So enough said.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. There's because one of the companies that I've spoken to is run by an amazing woman that I am so honored to be connected with, but that's Gamer Safer. And what Gamer Safer is doing is trying to create the anonymity, but also accountability at the same time, and so that those spaces are a little bit more monitored, especially when it comes to parental controls and things like that. So like, and kind of taking away from being parental controls as like just being like no, to being like, okay, what is your kid doing? Why is your kid spending much time in this game? What kind of games are they like playing? Here's how you can interact with your child to talk more about the games that they're playing and see what's going on with them. So I think that type of technology and those things are starting to kind of become, you know, kind of come out of the woodwork because of spaces like that. Like, I know that for me, when Halo 2 multiplayer, like, rooms were, you know, that's showing my age a little, but I was definitely, like, mic off, like, you know, a non-gender conforming IDs just so I wouldn't have to deal, right? Like, just so you wouldn't have to deal with it. I just wanted to SWAT, you know, like.
Yeah, unless I was feeling really positive and good, and then I had my very gendered.
It depends on your mood, right?
Off.
Yeah, like, it depends on your mood. If you feel like being a little feisty, like, all right, let's go.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
really, like, irritate everyone.
Yeah,
and be
yeah.
Like, yep, female.
Essentially, yeah, headshot, boom, headshot. You're going like 24-0. You're like, what? Yeah, I did that. What's up? Yeah, I totally get that energy. Megan, what are some resources, especially with the ESTA, that we can that you would like to share with us that maybe have helped you or you've seen help other people that are kind of in that space?
Yeah, you know, something with my industry, which is, you know, trade associations, and I've been doing it for, 20 years and over so many different industries. So we're very general. So we have a student membership, we have a collegiate membership, we have a team membership, we have an individual membership, we have a corporate membership, we have a small company membership. So I personally find that awesome because anyone that checks in with us, we have something. Do we have all our programs that they need built out? Not necessarily, right? Can we give more to the students? Sure, like absolutely. Get your LinkedIn profile done. Step one. Get your photo, get your LinkedIn video done, get your video signature done. You know, so the mentorship program we're starting is we're having one board member mentor so many different students. I mean, that's just one thing. We have a university program where the university can join and get 30 memberships. One of the initiatives we're doing on the college level is we're inviting to the conference 6 different colleges, heads of the departments, deans, and a couple of students. So we're bringing all these colleges together for a roundtable to talk about what's so in the industry. And this would be local colleges, so we can work closer with them. Boy, and then I'm going to jump through individual members. You know, there might be somebody like Jenn, for example, that she's like, I just have a club, I play games, I bring women together, you know, super easy. Like, Jenn, just join as an individual and get connected in the community. And then you have more of a mid-sized company like Rebecca, where there's like 3 or 4 of them. And but they're going to be doing partnerships and deals because there's people that want to work in a smaller to mid-sized company together. And then we have huge corporations that are wanting to ease in and get to know people and build their brand around a good mid-sized company or even a smaller company that's getting in. I've seen teams that have come, small teams that have come to one coffee and get 2 sponsorship deals, and they have 2 patches on their, you know, publicly traded companies. So that whole students coming in, getting their internships, companies coming in, finding their talent. So I love you just never know who's going to be there, whether it's a coffee or a happy hour. It could be 5 people at a coffee, and it could be 200 people at a happy hour.
Right.
And we're set up for all that. And you just, it is just a mixed bag. And that is so exciting for me.
Yeah, that's amazing because there's so many, like, this panel right here is full of a diverse, like, each of us are doing a different thing. Kind of in the space. We're still in the same space. We're still kind of have the same goal, but the way we're achieving those goals are all different, which is, I mean, like Jenn said earlier, there's room for everybody. So we talked about resources, but here's the thing, and someone brought this up in chat, call me crazy, who said they're so excited for this panel. Quick question. Because if we're going to talk about resources and we're going to talk about women in the space, we have to talk about imposter syndrome. We have to. And so thank you for your question, because I want to start with Jenn. What helps you quiet that imposter syndrome, which we all go through consistently all the time? I mean, I know I struggle with it every day. So Jenn, why don't we start with you?
Oh my God. Yeah, I first acknowledge it. I think that's the number one thing is when I start having those questions of, do I know enough? And like this, like that annoying voice that I just want to kill, right? It's I say, okay, voice. And I'm like, I've been doing this for, I'm gonna just give it almost 20 years, right? It's like, what the F? Like, I'm like, I'm like, what the hell? Like, I do not have to say that to myself. I'm gonna be nicer to myself. So I think that's like kind of that as we head into having your mantra and your meditate, like whatever self-help, whatever you need to do, read your horoscope, whatever it is to feel good, right? You have to just remember that you yourself bring something to the table. And then I sometimes have to then add a little bit of a joke, which is, really, that guy? Just to kind of get myself to laugh. And then remember that there's just humor in all of it. Everyone has imposter syndrome. Everyone. So that's like that's the equalizer that makes me say, okay, I think I'll be all right. So those are just my steps to be able to overcome that. But it's so real, and it's absolutely been extra ingrained, I think, in a lot of women, for sure.
Yeah. Rebecca, why don't you go next? What's your go-to?
Excuse me. I think first, I do agree, own it. So I have imposter syndrome, first of all, I had it for a while at the beginning of kind of starting this journey because of the discussion we were talking about before. Because, by the way, I would say the overwhelming narrative right off the bat that people think is that it is easier or better to be a gamer in the gaming industry. That's not, we have not gotten pushback personally or for our company, but I think historically that is the thought for whatever reason. And so that going in with that, and then, with as a woman, I just think you have to find a way to know that, yeah, we all have it. And go back to sort of what problem am I trying to solve? How am I doing it? Let me just do that. And, so for me, what do I just get up every day and do is say, okay, I'm in an industry. I believe in the systemic way that we can change the industry is by talking to all different organizations, companies, nonprofits, individuals, colleges, the list goes on. And I just kind of get up and I just do it. And the other thing is, if I'm having imposter syndrome on a call with somebody or on a meeting or on whatever it is, with someone who's, let's just say it's like a really exciting, somebody I'm really excited to talk to because they're big and I have imposter syndrome. I try to focus on that. Like, this is so cool. I'm having this meeting and I think that I have a lot to bring to the table because, by the way, let's just go back to why we're having this panel. It's a positive discussion to be having, but it's one that needs to be had, right? Like, it's great that we're having it. So we always deserve to be there, for sure. There's room for all of it. And it's the mantra. Keep saying it.
Yeah, that's great. Megan, how about you? How do you battle this beast?
Well, I have always worked, for some reason, in technology and in sports. So I was definitely a minority. Most of the time I've been in boardrooms, the only woman, most of my career. And I'm going to tell you, there was a defining moment for me. And it might not be a big deal, but for my soul, it was. And I was named top woman in fantasy sports, and that was a whole industry, and by Matt Berry. And I will never forget that because I called him and I was like, Matt, why me? And he said, the contribution you made to the industry behind the scenes. And you should have seen the ruckus people write. Like, guess how many times I played fantasy sports? 0. How was I top woman alongside Stefania Bell, who's on ESPN every day, right? Because nobody saw what I did. But when he told me the impact I made, I just really never forgot that. So there's these defining moments for when we do have that voice that we have to remember, and that came out of left field for me. So I just remember that I'm an individual. But what did I do my whole life for fantasy sports? I had all brothers. I helped them with their draft board. I wrote the names. I laid out the magazines in the day. I mean, I did, love the sport. I just personally was never good at it. I didn't play it myself, but I ran the association. That I got so much joy out of being that service. But boy, if I ever listened to the people that said, who are you? Why are you here? You don't play. You're not one of us. You're not even a guy. boy, I wouldn't be here right now.
Right.
So I had, of course we still wake up with that voice, but thankfully, a long time ago, I nipped at it in the bud, and then I just remind myself of the defining, some of the really big defining moments I had.
Yeah, and I think it's so important that we talk about imposter syndrome too. I mean, I even those of us in the gamer space, right, that are women that are gamers in the gamer culture, we kind of like grew up with imposter syndrome. Like, we need to know this, we need to have this knowledge, we need to be this type of gamer, we need to be that.
You
My
need to be good. I think that's a big one. Is I need to be good, like
Right.
really good,
Right.
not just okay.
Yeah.
And
Right.
no room to suck. Like that's the piece that I always felt like is a big part of the imposter syndrome. It's like you have to be perfect. All that level
Yeah.
of pressure.
And we have to kind of, I think for a lot of us, I know for me, because I grew up back and forth between Korea and America. So like when I was in Korea, I wasn't American or Korean enough. When I was in America, I wasn't American enough. And so like that kind of taking that and being like, well, that's what they think. Like, one of the things that helped me was understanding that what they're thinking in their head is none of my business, because it's their brain thoughts. And so therefore, if I'm so concerned about what they're thinking, I'm not being true to who I am and my authentic self, and that's just not a version of me that I care about, right? Like, type of deal. Yeah, I think these are all really, really great pointers, because imposter syndrome, I think, affects everybody in every industry at some level, at some point. Yeah, so this has been a really, really good discussion. I'm so excited to have you all on. I'm going to do one more round through. Can everybody just tell us where we can find them, what their next big project is if they haven't talked about it already, and some ways that we can connect with you? And Jenn, I'll start with you.
I think for me, because we're so informal and we make that a point, the best place, sadly, is my email, which is the only formal thing we've done for WxG. So it's going to be Jenn with 2 N's at WxG-club.com. That's it. And then I'll just, I'll link in with you guys, whoever is interested, and then we'll get you an invite.
That's amazing. 2N Jen's for the win, I tell you. Rebecca, where can we find you? What are you doing now? Obviously the Gamers Awards, but where can we find and connect with you and your amazing team?
Yeah, we are at the Game Hers, so it's the Game Hers, Hers, so gamers with an H, and that's where we are everywhere on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. What I also want to share is that the Gamers Awards are, they're live now for nominations, and then you'll be able to vote, and then there's the finalist voting period. Also, we were talking about the awards because they're so current right now, but we are migrating all of our content over to our own platform this fall, and so we are. That was sort of just a big other topic to talk about, but follow us on all those pieces, and we're just super excited to be here. As you turn it over to Megan, I didn't have a chance to say this yet, but I just want to sort of give a plug for a great resource is the ESTA. Megan mentioned it, but we did win the pitch competition this year. It was a huge honor. And like you said, Megan, it has opened enormous connections for us. I mean, they're still cascading. If sometimes I'll explain to somebody, on my team, well, okay, this was the pitch competition, then we met this person from that, then this person, then this, and it's just like rolling connections, which again goes back to what Jenn said at the beginning about if we all band together, we might be able to make a difference. So thanks to both of you. This was really fun.
Thank you, Rebecca.
All three of
And
you.
that's chilling. I mean, that's why I'll never be able to retire, because I just love what I do so much. And over the course of many years and 21 industries, this has been the most rewarding. It really has. And maybe I don't know why. I just absolutely love what we do. You know where we are? We are wherever our members are. We are on demand in your city. For example, if gamers wanted to have us in New York to their headquarters, we would come and do a member meetup there. Once a year, we have our big conference here in Chicago. For 3 years in a row, we've been trying to do it, and for the love of Job, we hope that we're 4 weeks away and that the nation stays healthy. So we are actually doing our physical conference here. We're also on the road. We have a chapter in Dallas. I'm sure people see the meetups there, but that's where we are, where you are. Not to mention every single week we have an event all year round. And my favorite event of all times forever, and we're looking for a slogan right now, is our happy hour, our morning coffees once a month. And I always say, if there's one person there or there's 100, I'll never miss it. It's so great just to have coffee. And I want the coffee to say something. I got a really nice cup of coffee the other day with a mug on it from Danny Martin, and it said, "Behind every woman is herself." And it was so cool to get that in the mail. And we've just been going around and round and round. We only have a couple of weeks. We're giving everybody that comes a coffee cup. So if you guys have any ideas, let me know. In the meanwhile, you can't miss us on Twitter and Instagram and LinkedIn. We're Esports Trade Association. Please join us or consider. We'd love to have you and be of service. And thank you so much, Rebecca. It's a pleasure to have you as a member, and congratulations for winning such a prestigious award.
Thank you.
Thank you to our lovely panelists for having this discussion today. We appreciate your time. We are Women in Games International. This was Open World Dialogue, where we have conversations the second Wednesday of every month about a new topic that pertains to women and marginalized genders in the industry. You can find us at WxG absolutely everywhere, and we want to give a huge shout out to our friends over at Hippo for sponsoring these conversations and for really giving us the ability to have them on during such an important time where things are shifting so rapidly, and we're really trying to figure out what that is going to look like in the future. And these conversations are really important to that, to kind of help shape the culture and the content about what we need to speak about and the things that are important to all of us. So thank you again. Thank you everyone in chat. Thank you for being here, and we will see you next time on Open World Dialogue. Bye.
Thank you.